Hey guys, thank you for joining me yet again. We're still on the subject of spiritual warfare. We've been speaking this week about some of the things we learn out of the life of David, about defeating giants, about high places of prayer. We learn a lot about common sense things, picking the right fights to fight and having the right conflict and putting it in the right order. So I want to take this to a final conclusion. You know, David was a great king. I want to take nothing away from him, but there were a couple of times he really messed up. One of his greatest mess-ups, we think, was the issue with Bathsheba. Apparently not. Towards the end of his life, David began to think that he was stronger than he really was. And one day he had to go to war against the enemy, and he called his general and he said, "Go number the troops and tell me how many men we have to fight against this enemy." And the general said to him, "David, why would you want to do that? David, we've never done that before. David, we've always trusted in God. We've never wondered about how many men we need in order to defeat the enemy." But David insisted that he do that. So under duress, this general went off and he numbered the troops. He came back, reported to David how many troops he had to fight the enemy, and David gloated. He thought, now we're strong enough. We're strong enough on our own to deal with this enemy. They went to war, and the consequences were terrible. God came to David and he said, "David, you did the wrong thing. David, because you thought that you could fight in your own power and in your own strength with your own armaments, there's a punishment that needs to be had." And he gave David three options as to choose his pain, and he had to choose the one that he wanted. And David, because he loved God, he said, "Lord, I will choose the one that puts me in the hand of your sovereignty and your kindness and your grace." As a result of that, a fever, a disease came across the people, and 70,000 people died because God came and he took their lives from them. All because David chose to number his troops. He chose to let his head rule over his heart, and his heart became corrupted, and he thought he could do it on his own. How many great men have fallen at this particular point? How many great women have come short in their leadership roles by thinking they can do it on their own? And in a sense, they've taken away the glory of God, because every victory that David won was not a victory for himself as a human being. The greatness of his victory was found in the wonder of God fighting on his behalf. There are some fights, people, that you don't need to fight. That was yesterday. But there are some fights that you don't need to fight because God will fight them for you. And we're going to do a little bit more on this next week. But let the Lord fight the battle on your behalf. Don't you get involved. It's his in the first place. David, because he was a humble man, he repented when he heard what had happened. And he was felt bad, and repentance was genuine. He bought a hill, he put an altar on there, he made a sacrifice to God as a peace offering between himself and God thereafter. Of course, God forgave him. God does that. That's who God is. And when we mess up and come to God and confess our sin to him, he will smile and he will say, "Thank you. Of course I forgive you," as he did with David. But remember this, with every fall, there are consequences to your actions. And we look at David's life and we say, man, David, 70,000 people died because of what you did. So think carefully before you go to war. Make sure that you're fighting on God's behalf, and make sure that God is fighting on yours. Think about that in your life. I hope you can work out some kind of parallel for it to be applicable. Have a great day, people, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.